Hi, I'm Ellen Violette, and today I want to talk about starting and finishing your book or product. This came up the other day in our Authors Profit Incubator Mastermind, and I started thinking about it. Why do people have trouble starting, and why do people have trouble finishing products and books? And so I went onto my Facebook page and I asked people, do you have more trouble starting or finishing? And the majority of people had more trouble finishing than they had trouble starting. But what I see is two different problems, but they end up, having the same, issue. And the bottom line is it doesn't get done. So if you have trouble starting, what I've discovered is that when I'm not motivated, I don't want to start something. Or if I don't feel like I understand how it's going to move my business forward, what it's going to do for me, and how fast it's going to get me there. Like if I see something and I think, oh my God, this is going to take months, right away my mind goes, oh, no, I don't want to do that. But then if I see something else and okay, well, I can do this a lot faster and it's going to get me to the same place, then that's the one I'm going to get excited about. But sometimes people can't see more than one option. You only see one way and it looks like it's too long, and then they just throw up their hands. But the main thing is you have to see what it's going to do for you, or you're not going to move forward. And it's really interesting because I had someone say, well, I'm doing this to help other people. I'm going, yeah, well, as trainers, as coaches, that's what we're always doing. We're, putting all this information out in systems to help people. But at the same time, if we're not feeling like it's helping us, we're not going to do it. And that's the whole what's in it for me. I mean, unless you're someone who's just totally motivated by what it's going to do for somebody else. But I find that's not usually the case. One of the first things you learn in marketing is what's in it for me. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like there has to be something in it for you. Otherwise, why would you do it? So I think you need both. I think you need to know why you need it for you, and then how it's going to help other people. And when you have that, and then you connect to them, and you get that it's something they really want, then you get really excited because you're not only doing it, but it's going to be successful. And there's something really powerful in that and really motivating. So that's really important. Now, on the other hand, if you have trouble finishing, I think there's some reasons for that. And one is, I know with me, like let's say I get into a project and then I come up against something where I don't know the answer to something. Well, if I don't reach out and get help, then I'm going to just shut down on that and go to something else. And I'm not perfect. I've done that in the past where I've spent money on a product even, or a program, and I did that, got halfway through and didn't finish. So we've all been through that. But what I've learned over the years is that just doesn't work. And then when I look back and I see, oh my God, if I had just gotten help for that, I would have been so much farther ahead. So now I don't do that. But it is one of the things that I think people do it either when they're starting out or when they start to spend a lot of money and they're not seeing the results from it until they stop spending money to get help. And so I really recommend that you don't do that. But the other thing is that in order to finish, sometimes, again, you get ahead of yourself. So you're thinking about, what it's going to look like down the road or how much work it's going to be. And sometimes that can just shut you down immediately and go, oh God, that's just too much work. And so what I found, what works for me best is to stay in the now. And it's so easy to say, but it's true. If I focus on, okay, what do I have to do today? Each day, I'm getting a little bit closer to what that destination is going to be. And that's really exciting when I can really start to see the progress. And also when I can say to myself, wow, I see the progress and it's moving in the right direction, as opposed to when I can't see the progress or when I beat up on myself because maybe I think there wasn't enough progress. And then I get down on myself, and all that does is, make it harder for me to get to where it is I'm trying to go. So finishing is something that really has to become a habit. It has to be something that you become very conscious of, and you say that once I started this project, this is what I have to do, and then I have to focus on one day at a time. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can say, okay, I'm going to start with the end in mind, and I'm going to work backwards. And of course, I've done that. And some of you who know my story, I wrote a book with Jim Edwards many years ago, and I had to do it within 30 days or it was going to cost me a ton of money that I didn't have. So it had to get done. So I spent the first few days, working on it, and I thought, oh my God, this is just going way too slow. I'm never going to get there. And so what I did was I looked at, okay, what is the end product? And then how do I work backwards? And so what do I have to do every day so that when I get to that 30 days, it's done? And so that's what I did. So I figured out how many tips. It was a tip book. I had to, sell more ebooks. And so I had to look at how many tips did I have to do per day. And I think it came out to like 1.5 or something. And then leaving time at the end, for my sales page and all the other pieces that had to go into it. So, working backwards, that can also work for some people. But the main thing is that you need to be conscious, okay? And you need to create good habits. And I used to be really against that, because I thought of myself, oh, I'm a free spirit and I just want to go with the flow. And what I found was when I went with the flow, I would just go off in so many different directions because as a creative person, that's what your mind wants to do. And there's nothing wrong with it as long as you learn to harness it. But if you don't learn to harness it, you're just going to go off on all these wild tangents and you're never going to get anywhere. So you have to learn how to do that. One of the great ways that will help you do that is to have accountability and to have consistency. Those are the two things that you need in order to get there. And so, if that makes sense to you, and if you think you might like to join us in an Authors Profit Incubator, then I want to invite you to send me an email at info@bestsellerbusinessblueprint.com. And, we can discuss it and see if you're a good fit for one of our masterminds. We may, depending on when you're watching this, we may not have one that's in registration right now. And in that case, you'll go on an advance notice list. But if you're listening to this in June of 2017, then we are getting ready to do a mastermind next week, and we have a few spaces left. So if that's something that interests you, we would love to have you in the group. Whether you decide to do that or not, I really hope that you'll start thinking about consistency, accountability, and creating good habits. So that's it for now. Bye-bye.